You were told it's the rarest stone on Earth, a symbol of forever, but you were actually sold a piece of pressurized coal with a 1,000% markup. De Beers didn't find scarcity, they created it by burying the global supply in dark vaults and muzzling the entire market. A diamond is forever. The most successful lies always sound like poetry, designed to turn your deepest emotions into their highest dividends. They spent a century rigging the game, crushing competitors, and making sure no one could ever put a price tag on the Turks. I am the market eagle, and this is the diamond lie, the greatest heist in history. Watch the vault.
Hidden from the world, visible to the eagle.
To understand the lie, we have to go back to 1866, to the dusty, sun-scorched banks of the Orange River in South Africa. A child named Erasmus Jacobs finds a shiny pebble on his father's farm. He thinks it's a toy, a eureka moment that would eventually spark the most calculated monopoly in human history. By 1871, the discovery of the Colesberg copy, the Big Hole, changed the physics of the market. Diamonds weren't just rare river stones anymore, they were deep in the volcanic pipes of the earth. Thousands of independent miners from across the globe descended on Kimberley, digging deep, dangerous pits by hand, creating a chaotic, uncontrollable flood of supply that threatened to make diamonds as cheap as common pebbles on a sidewalk. The market was in a violent death spiral, prices were cratering, and the gemstone's prestige was vanishing. Enter Cecil Rhodes, a cold-blooded Englishman who realized that in a world of abundance, the only way to stay rich is to manufacture scarcity through force. He didn't just want to dig for stones, he wanted to own the entire geology of the African continent. Rhodes began a ruthless game of financial attrition. He leveraged massive capital from the Rothschild family in London to slowly strangle every small claim holder in the Kimberley mine. By 1888, his primary rival, the flamboyant Barney Barnato, was forced to surrender in a boardroom battle for the ages. Rhodes wrote a check for over £5 million, the largest financial instrument ever signed at the time, and De Beers Consolidated Mines was officially born.
The victory was total, but Rhodes knew that owning the holes in the ground wasn't enough. If a new mine opened in Russia or Australia, his empire would bleed. He needed a walled garden that covered the entire planet. He established the London Syndicate, a tight-knit circle of 10 diamond merchants who were the only authorized gatekeepers allowed to touch De Beers stones. This was the birth of the single-channel market. It was a closed loop. If you weren't in the syndicate, you didn't get the stones. If you tried to sell below the mandated price, you were exterminated from the industry overnight. Rhodes wasn't just selling jewelry, he was engineering the world's first global price-fixing machine, designed to defy the laws of supply and demand. When the Boer War broke out in 1899, Rhodes didn't retreat. He used his private army and deep-seated political influence to turn the mines into a fortress. He proved to the world that for De Beers, the line between a private corporation and a sovereign nation did not exist. They had their own laws, their own security, and their own agenda. After Rhodes died in 1902, the Oppenheimer family took the wheel of the machine. Ernest Oppenheimer realized that new discoveries in Namibia and the Congo were the ultimate threat to his throne. His solution? Don't compete, absorb. He expanded the syndicate into the legendary Central Selling Organization, better known as the CSO. The CSO became the ultimate global toll booth. They controlled 90% of the world's diamond flow. Every few months, they held secret sites in London, where invited buyers were handed a single wooden box of stones at a non-negotiable price. No bargaining, no picking through the pile. You take the box at their price, or you walk away forever and lose your seat at the table. By the 1930s, the Great Depression hit the world like a sledgehammer. Luxury was dead. The mountain of diamonds in the De Beers vaults was growing so high it threatened to bankrupt the cartel. To save the lie, they didn't lower the price. They doubled down on the illusion. They decided to colonize the most powerful force on Earth, the human subconscious. 1938, the diamond market wasn't just sick, it was dying. The Great Depression had stripped away the illusion of luxury. To the average person, a diamond was just a useless rock you couldn't eat or trade for coal. De Beers was sitting on a mountain of inventory that was worth billions on paper, but zero in reality. Harry Oppenheimer knew that to save the cartel, he didn't need better miners, he needed better liars. He traveled to New York City to meet with NW Ayer, the most aggressive advertising agency on Madison Avenue. His mission was simple: make every man in America feel like a failure if he didn't spend 2 months' salary on a stone. The agency conducted a massive psychological study. They found that Americans thought diamonds were for the ultra-wealthy only. NWA's goal wasn't to sell a product, it was to alter the human tradition. They decided to link diamonds, a stone with no resale value, to the only thing humans value more than money: eternal love. In 1947, a young copywriter named Frances Jarity sat at her desk late at night. She was exhausted. She scribbled 4 words on a piece of paper that would become the most successful brainwashing tool in history: a diamond is forever. Think about that phrase, forever. It wasn't a slogan, it was a trap. If a diamond is forever, you can never sell it. If you never sell it, the secondary market stays dead, and De Beers keeps total control over the price. They didn't just sell you a gem, they sold you a one-way ticket to a vault you'd never open. They launched a propaganda campaign that would make governments jealous. They gave diamonds to Hollywood starlets. They sent lecturers to high schools to tell young girls that a real man proposes with a diamond. They turned a financial transaction into a moral obligation. By the 1950s, the campaign hit its stride. 2 months' salary. They literally told the public exactly how much they were expected to overpay. And because the market eagle sees the receipts, I can tell you, the public didn't complain. They thanked them for the guidance. But De Beers wasn't just targeting the West. They looked at Japan, a country with zero tradition of diamond engagement rings. In less than 15 years, they went from 5% of brides owning a diamond to over 60%. They didn't just enter a market, they replaced a culture with a corporate invoice. This is the silent toll. Every time a couple says "I do," De Beers collects a tax on that emotion. They turned a common mineral into a religious relic. They manufactured a need out of thin air and built a $100 billion throne on the foundation of a romantic myth. But what happens when the lie starts to crack? What happens when forever meets the reality of the 21st century and the rise of the lab-grown threat? The eagle is watching, and the cartel is starting to sweat.
For over a century, the De Beers fortress was impenetrable. But in the late 1990s, the world started looking behind the curtain, and what they saw wasn't forever. It was red. The term blood diamond entered the global lexicon, and suddenly that sparkling symbol of love was linked to civil wars in Sierra Leone and Angola. The cartel scrambled. They created the Kimberley process in 2003, a certification meant to guarantee a diamond's conflict-free origin. But the market eagle knows better. The system was porous, riddled with smuggling and corruption. It was a PR band-aid on a gaping wound of human rights abuses. While they fought the fire of public opinion, a new threat was brewing in the shadows of high-tech laboratories. For decades, the industry mocked synthetic stones as cheap fakes. They called them cubic zirconia or moissanite. But then, the technology caught up to nature. Scientists perfected chemical vapor deposition, or CVD. They weren't making fakes anymore. They were growing real diamonds, atom for atom, optically, physically, and chemically identical to those pulled from the ground. The only difference? One costs a life, the other costs a light bill. De Beers panicked. They launched a campaign called Real is Rare. They tried to tell you that a diamond grown in a lab in 2 weeks lacked the soul of a stone buried for 1 billion years. But consumers started asking a dangerous question. Why pay a 10,000% premium for a soul I can't even see under a microscope? In a move of pure desperation, De Beers did the unthinkable in 2018. They launched their own lab-grown brand called Lightbox. The strategy? Price them so low that they would devalue the entire lab-grown market. They were trying to crush the competition by cannibalizing their own prestige. It backfired. By acknowledging that lab diamonds were good enough for their own brand, they broke the spell. The diamond is forever myth began to dissolve in a vat of industrial plasma. The youth of 2026 aren't buying the billion-year-old story anymore. They're buying ethics and value. As the monopoly fractured, new players emerged. Russia's Alrosa and huge mines in Canada and Australia began to ignore the De Beers sites. The single channel was shattered. Today, De Beers controls less than 30% of the market. The king has been dethroned.
But don't be fooled. A cornered predator is the most dangerous. They are pivoting to traceability technology, using blockchain to track a stone from the mine to the finger. It's the new frontier of control, an attempt to own the data since they no longer own the dust. The eagle sees the endgame. We are witnessing the commoditization of the world's most successful luxury illusion. The price of diamonds is falling, the resale value remains trash, and the cartel is desperately trying to reinvent the concept of rarity in a world of infinite supply. Let's talk about the investment lie. Walk into any jewelry store, buy a $10,000 ring, and try to sell it back the next day. You'll be lucky to get $2,000. Why? Because the market price is a hallucination maintained by the very people who sold it to you. In the 2020s, the rise of recycled diamonds hit the cartel where it hurts. Millions of baby boomers are passing down their rings, flooding the market with pre-owned stones. De Beers is now competing with its own past, and the past is winning. The market eagle has traced the money. The shift is moving toward colored gemstones, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires. Why? Because they are actually rare. Diamonds? They are just the result of a very long, very expensive, and very successful brainwashing experiment. We are entering the post-diamond era, an era where the consumer holds the magnifying glass. The cartel's walls have crumbled, and the truth is spilling out like shards of broken glass. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. The future of diamonds isn't in rings, it's in technology. Quantum computing, thermal management, and deep space lenses. The cartel is trying to survive by going high-tech, but can they outrun their own blood-stained history? We stand at the precipice of a historical correction. The De Beers fortress hasn't just been breached, it is being dismantled piece by the very technology they once tried to suppress. The year is 2026, and the natural diamond is no longer the undisputed king of the mountain. It has become a relic, a 140-year-old marketing experiment that has finally reached its expiration date. The spell is breaking, and the market is waking up from a century-long fever dream.
The data is cold and undeniable. Lab-grown sales have surged by over 500% in the last decade alone. Why? Because the modern consumer has a new set of values. They aren't looking for billion-year-old stories. They are looking for truth. They want a stone born in a clean laboratory powered by renewable energy, not one pulled from a blood-stained hole in the ground by the ghost of Cecil Rhodes. Ethics has finally become more valuable than the illusion of age. But let's talk about the crash. As supply becomes infinite, the fundamental laws of economics take over. A diamond will eventually settle at a price point reflecting the cost of the electricity and the carbon required to grow it. Forever just became a commodity. When you can print a perfect 5-carat stone for the price of a high-end smartphone, the concept of a prestige asset evaporates into the atmosphere. The market eagle sees the pivot. De Beers and the Era Titans are shifting their billions into industrial applications. They know the jewelry game is a losing hand. They are looking at the next frontier, diamond-based semiconductors. These stones will power the AI revolution. They will cool the quantum computers of 2030, and they will guide deep space lenses. They are trading your engagement rings for the chips in your pocket. They aren't leaving the market, they are just changing the trap. The secondary market, the millions of rings currently sitting in dresser drawers and safe deposit boxes, is the sleeping giant. For decades, the cartel relied on you never selling your diamond. But as the investment lie dissolves, the flood of recycled stones will hit the market like a tidal wave. When the public realizes that a diamond has the resale value of a used car, the mining industry will be buried under the weight of its own past. We have to be honest, the lie was beautiful. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. It built cities in the desert, funded cross-continental wars, and dictated the aesthetics of love for 4 generations. It was the most successful heist in history because the victims didn't just hand over their money, they thanked the thief for the privilege. We didn't buy carbon, we bought the feeling of being worthy of something rare.
The future outlook? It is vibrant and multicolored. We are seeing a massive return to true rarity. Natural rubies, sapphires, and rare earth minerals that cannot be easily replicated in a plasma chamber. The diamond era was a 140-year detour in the history of wealth, a temporary insanity fueled by a single company in London. And that detour is finally coming to a dead end. So, the next time you see that iconic blue box or a high-gloss advertisement in a magazine, I want you to look closer. Don't look at the sparkle, look at the syndicate. Look at the calculated price fixing. Look at the manufactured scarcity that kept a common mineral on a pedestal for over a century. See the strings and the puppet master and the invoice. The truth doesn't diminish the beauty of the crystal, it only diminishes the power of the liar. The market eagle doesn't tell you what to buy, I tell you why you were told to buy it. In a world of falling prices and crumbling monopolies, knowledge is the only asset that actually holds its value forever. The investigation is officially closed. The files are locked. The light in the vault is going out. But remember, the eagle is always watching the tape, and the truth is always harder than the stone. Stay sharp, stay cynical, and never confuse a price tag for a soul. Market Eagle out.
Subscribe and join the flight. Market Eagle.